Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charles Advanced, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we have a very interesting show in store for you guys. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. So as you guys know, Kawhi Leonard, as we are sitting here right now, is out indefinitely. These are the words of the Clippers. We don't know when he's coming back. Based on some of the reporting that I've been able to unearth, the news is he's going to be out for weeks. I'm just going to assume he's going to be out for at least another like a month or two, right? Or even 3 months. Who knows? I'm just going to say a month or two. And the reason being is because the Clippers want to find a lasting remedy to ensure that when he does return to the court, he is there on a consistent basis, not on a load management basis and all of that. So that's been the reporting around Kawhi Leonard. In tandem with that, you also have the reporting of Stephen A. Smith on Kawhi Leonard. Stephen A. Smith has said on more than one occasion that Kawhi Leonard is the worst NBA superstar in the history of the sport. That's a mouthful, but that's been one of his lines over the last few years, that Kawhi Leonard is the worst ever, to the point where it's even gotten him into some dicey situations with former NBA players on TV, like when he had the infamous spat with JJ Redick on ESPN First Take for his comments towards Kawhi Leonard. So what happened? This weekend I was going through the internet and I came across some clips from the Dan Batard show. And he was talking about a bunch of things. As a matter of fact, he just had to sit down with Skip Bayless. But he was talking about a bunch of things. But then he started to talk about the coverage of Stephen A. Smith, this coverage from Stephen A. Smith about Kawhi Leonard. And he was just basically calling him out for the way he's been describing the situation and not really getting into the investigative side of it, where instead he just seems to be more concerned with painting narratives that he's the worst player to ever play in the NBA. But before we even get into what Dan Batard had to say, today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, GameTime. With only 4 months left until the end of the year, I look forward to creating special moments with family and friends by attending various theaters, shows, plays, and sporting events. And when it comes time for me to look for tickets, I absolutely love to use GameTime. GameTime is one of the most reliable marketplaces for last-minute tickets to the most popular events in sports, music, and theater in more than 60 cities across the United States and Canada. GameTime saves me money, time, and peace of mind, so I don't have to sort through thousands of tickets looking for the best prices or worry about whether or not if they're authentic or whether I'm going to receive them on time. GameTime Picks, one of my favorite GameTime tools, analyzes thousands of tickets for all of your favorite events near your location and finds you the best possible deal so you don't have to. For example, I'm looking forward to this upcoming concert at Madison Square Garden of one of my favorite composers, Hans Zimmer. Here I can select the all-in price to see the total ticket price up front, no hidden fees. And now I can sort through the best possible deals I can find. I can choose the cheapest deals, the great deal, or the amazing deal. Once you select the ticket you want, you can use their panoramic seat view to ensure you know exactly what you're getting before you buy. And if you're like me and always make plans at the last minute, you can grab tickets up to 90 minutes after the event has started. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and use redeem code CLNS for $20 off. And remember, whenever you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we want to do now is we want to play some of his comments about Stephen A. Smith and his coverage about Kawhi Leonard, and then we're going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to what he had to say here.
Perfectly healthy, and both of their wide receivers are in. Stafford could look like the champion that he is. But before we get to that story, I wanted to ask the group what kind of interest level there was on everything that was leaking out yesterday involving Kawhi Leonard and Kawhi Leonard's trainer suing the Clippers, because I thought this was the biggest story from yesterday in sports. And I also thought that the last 10 years of this player and the ingredients around this player have made it so bewildering that Stephen A. Smith, who's bouncing between Hannity and doing the First Take thing that him and Skip Bayless birthed all over sports debate television, called him the worst superstar in sports ever. And I have that commentary on First Take, and I'm looking at some of these lawsuit details, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. if they totally screwed up this guy's body and somebody who was actually caring about him since he was in college was trying to help get his body right, and now he's suing the Clippers when it's a person who was also involved with everything that was happening with the Spurs and that medical condition, you've got the quietest superstar we've ever seen in sports leaving the Spurs under suspicious circumstances, and now you've got his trainer with the Clippers turning around and saying, hey, I didn't agree with his care. And Kawhi Leonard is viewed as somebody who, when we saw him play, he's the last guy who took down everybody as just one guy. Everything around him has been super teams. He started with a super team as the third or fourth best player on it. He's a multi-time champion, and he's been the number one on one of the champions, and LeBron only feared him when he was on the Spurs as a young player. This is a great player who has been damaged by his medical care, and I don't think anybody in sports cares.
He ended the Durant Warriors. I don't want to say ended the Warriors because they ended up winning another title afterwards, but he did so with one of the greatest individual efforts while never having 2 feet off the ground. If you watch that, it's crazy. It's so much old man game, and it's just like, I'll dial up my body when I need to.
So what are my thoughts on this? Kawhi Leonard is low-hanging fruit. He's an easy target because, number one, he doesn't talk so much. And number two, for him constantly being injured. It's one of the reasons you have Charles Barkley ranking him out of the top 50 players in the NBA, although last year he made the all-second team, but then somehow, because he's always injured, but then somehow found a way to rank Joel Embiid in his top 10, and now we're hearing that he may have been misdiagnosed, or maybe the treatment they were giving him was incorrect based on the lawsuit that came out against him from a former medical staff member. So to me, look, I don't think Kawhi Leonard's image is going to ever be rehabilitated unless he plays and plays well. That simple. You can't talk your way into defending Kawhi Leonard. Like, oh, no, man, you guys don't understand. I think you need to look at it this way. You need to look at it that way. You're wrong about. No, I don't think that's going to work. No one wants to hear you at this point. People want to see results. Is that point? It's like there are no gray areas with this Kawhi Leonard thing. You can't talk him into a good light. It has to be he comes back and he plays well. And he goes on a long playoff run. And he does that for a few years. It is that simple. But calling out people like Stephen A. Smith and others for misrepresenting the situation, we've done that before. We've done that a bunch of times. Really didn't sway opinions to the point where you're like, man, people are really looking at Kawhi Leonard differently. No, it didn't. People are always going to maintain what they want to maintain. And in the case of Stephen A. Smith, this is the picture that he wants painted of Kawhi Leonard, that he's useless, he's doesn't do anything for basketball, blah, 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 blah. So the only way for him to combat it is for Kawhi to come back, play well, have a good season. It is literally that simple, in my opinion. So what I want to know from you guys, what do you think about what Dan Batard had to say? What do you think about our analysis? And ultimately, how do you see this thing playing out with Kawhi this season? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comments section. And we'll catch you guys on the next show. Peace.